Gullah Geechee Nation Appreciation Week. Whereas Beaufort County, South Carolina is the second oldest county in South Carolina, and whereas at its founding many Africans were brought in through Port Royal, where a marker stands in honor of their arrival, and whereas these African people populated the islands of the Port Royal region, which had already been occupied by indigenous people, for which many of the sea islands are named, and whereas the African people of the area came to be known as Gullah Geechee, and whereas the town of Port Royal is on the island of Port Royal, and whereas many Gullah Geechees occupied the Sea Island cotton plantation known as the Smith Plantation, and whereas during the U.S. Civil War, this 700 acres became known as Old Fort Plantation and was confiscated by the U.S. federal government, and whereas this then became the encampment of the 1st South Carolina Volunteer Regiment and the Union Forces, which included Gullah Geechee nurse and scout Harriet Tubman and nurse Susie King Taylor, and whereas the encampment at this location came to be known as Camp Saxton, and whereas it is at this location where the first reading of the Emancipation Proclamation was read and the site of the Emancipation Oak, and whereas when we commemorated the 150 years since the first reading on January 1st, 2013, Queen Quet, chiefess and head of state for the Gullah Geechee Nation, led a shout and song, "O Freedom," at the Emancipation Oak, and whereas Queen Quet became the first Gullah Geechee in the world to speak before the United Nations on behalf of Gullah Geechees in order to continue seeking freedom and human rights for her people, whereas she established the Gullah Geechee Sea Island Coalition on historic St. Helena Island, and whereas St. Helena Island, South Carolina was the launching location of the Gullah Geechee Nation International Music and Movement Festival, which was co-founded by Queen Quet, chiefess of the Gullah Geechee Nation, and Kwame Shaw of All Mobile Productions, whereas the Gullah Geechee Nation International Music and Movement Festival moves to various parts of the Gullah Geechee Nation and the African diaspora each year to educate the world about and to continue to celebrate the Gullah Geechee traditions, and whereas the Gullah Geechee Nation International Music and Movement Festival will return this year as part of commemorating 150 years since the reading of the Emancipation Proclamation and celebrations of freedom that took place in Port Royal and on St. Helena Island, whereas a series of activities will take place throughout Beaufort County and in the town of Port Royal in honor of the history and legacy of the Gullah Geechee Nation, and to celebrate emancipation in the Gullah Geechee Nation this week leading up to the festival, I, Mayor Samuel Murray of the town of Port Royal, hereby declare July 28th through August 3rd, 2014, Gullah Geechee Nation Appreciation Week. Thank you, Mayor Murray. Thank you to the Town Council of Port Royal for joining me for this your second year of this your Gullah Geechee Nation Appreciation Week, Beaufort County wide. So glad that 100 children to be with we one more again. Make sure you stop by Port Royal this year week, yeah?